Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Niels Winter, and I am the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent, non-commercial podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. I slowly built up information and content on different funding schemes. I started out with Horizon Europe Pillar 2 and have moved into European Defence Fund, the ERC, and the Erasmus Plus programs. More is to come, even. The next 2 weeks I will be looking into proposal preparation within the Erasmus Plus funding scheme. As regular listeners will know, I have developed the timeline series that goes through the proposal preparation process step by step. That is for Horizon Europe Pillar 2 proposals, but has a lot of generic elements that also apply to funding schemes in general. However, there are important specificities for each funding scheme and how to prepare the proposals for each of them. To provide guidance on how to prepare a proposal for the Erasmus Plus program, I have invited 3 strong capacities on Erasmus Plus into the virtual podcast studio. Daiana Huber, Chief Operations Officer, CPIP, Christina Achilleos, Founder and EU funding expert from InnoEUspere, and Ulla-Alexandra Mattl, Director and Consultant from Eurakom. I have all years of practical experience developing proposals for the Erasmus Plus program. This first half of the double episode, we dig into all the preparatory steps you need to do before the writing phase sets in order to have as smooth a proposal developing work as possible, including idea development, developing the project concept, consortium building, and how to best involve the partners in the developing phase. This is a must listen for all Erasmus Plus proposal developers, no matter the experience. Please enjoy. Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Today, it's like this throughout the summer period when you insist on continuing doing your podcast throughout the summer and the holidays. I am on holiday now. I'm in Bucharest, a wonderful Bucharest, with my family. But I did plan a podcast recording, of course. Everything rolls, even though that the holidays are here. So I am having a nice panel today. I'll get back to that. But it's just to say that is actually part of the discourse of The Grant is that I roll no matter what because there are always people sitting and doing proposals. So it's actually a point. It's not just because I have frequency, which is good for a podcast flow, but it's actually because I know that there are many people out there that are doing work anyways throughout these periods where other people, they go and take a dip in the sea or the pool or whatever. No. Welcome back, I can say, to all 3 of you, because we're going to talk about Erasmus and we're going to talk about proposal preparation today. This is a panel that's been a long time on the way, but it's always like this when you need to gather more people at the same time. Now, Daiana, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here with colleagues, with like-minded people. That's always a joy, and happy to represent the profession, the science fiction writers in the genre of grant development, right? Mm-hmm. We are here with the Erasmus team.
And Christina, welcome.
Hi, Niels. Great to be with you once more. Like Daiana said, with like-minded colleagues, dear professionals, and I really know that we are all passionate with what we do. So it's always a great pleasure to share our insights and expertise on proposal development for Erasmus, our START program of Europe. This is how I call it because, I really, really love this program.
Uh-huh. And Ulla, welcome.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for having me. And I'm quite excited to also hear about the views of our 2 other colleagues who have not met before. So I'm very curious about hearing their views on how they prepared their proposals. It's going to be good.
Indeed. Just to take your listeners for a quick callback. So, Daiana, you've been into the studio before to talk about Erasmus Plus and NGOs, how you work with that in your organization. Christina, you have been in the studio before to share about a 4-week working day that you managed in the company that you used to work for. And you've been in here for my first Q&A concept, just recorded a couple of weeks ago and will be released this Monday. And Ulla, you were the one doing the actual, the grant authoritative introduction to the Erasmus Plus program over 2 periods. So it's a nice set of people here that indeed has a lot of experience on Erasmus. And just to have a short introduction to you all as we talk pre-recording here, not a long one because we have to go to the content itself, and you've been all here before. But Daiana, can you say a few words about yourself and where you work?
Yes, so it was a very, very enticing first experience, and now you got me hooked on the podcasting arena. I come from Timișoara, Romania. I work for Center for Promoting Lifelong Learning. We are an NGO founded in 2006, and I have joined full-time the management team in 2012, Bachelor in Educational Sciences, Master in Public Policy, trained lobbyist, but apparently I cannot get myself unstuck from the grant writing, which is something that I do since I graduated my school.
Good, thanks. Christina, shortly about yourself.
So I'm Christina Achilleos from Larnaca, Cyprus. Interestingly, I've never mentioned about my background. I have my degrees in business, and I have a Master of Science in marketing. And I have joined, the world of national and EU funding programs as a grant writer since 2014. So I have approximately 10 years of experience at this moment. Since December, I have founded InnoEUspere. It's a newly established SME. We are aiming actually to promote participatory and innovative training programs, specifically under vocational education training. So we would like to prepare a number of target groups for the marketplace of tomorrow. So we are investing a lot of our time on capturing the need of developing skills, specifically under sustainability, green transition, etc.
Thanks. Ulla.
Yes, so about me, I'm based in Brussels. I work, I have a lot of different hats, but I work for, my main job is to work for a French consultancy where I'm the project director for EU and non-EU projects, I would say. So we don't only focus on EU funding, but also on other projects. We work a lot with regional development, with energy in the tourism sector. So we work with destinations on local development, especially linked to anything that has to do with sustainability criteria, certification, and so on. As for EU projects at the moment, they are also very much linked to tourism, culture, and education, especially vocational education and training, because we work a lot with professionals and SMEs. So this is our current focus in that area. And my background is languages. I studied with linguistics, and then cultural policy. I moved into education, then into sustainability. I've lived in quite a few European countries, but I got stuck in Brussels, and I've been there for, yes, a very long time. And one of those people who arrived there thought they were staying for 6 months, and then they're still hooked, still there. And yes, and then so I'm also very much connected to EU affairs and education policy, and on these areas. I've worked in this area, and so I'm so this all comes into the work I do. I'm very closely, as you know anyway, Niels, in this space.
Excellent. Good. ladies, let's hit it. We're going to talk about how to prepare proposals for the Erasmus Plus program, and I know that you have several categories under Erasmus Plus that requires a different approach. But I think we should stick to the ones that are most commonly approached. And you are the experts in here. So maybe we start off with a fly-in to, if you share a little bit about the program in general, how it is, if you can say any few generalizations about what it is to prepare an Erasmus Plus proposal. Daiana?
Yes, like I said in the beginning, I really believe that we are co-producing a fantasy storytelling up to a point. We are storytellers. That is the pure truth, and the evaluators get behind the technical casing, which gets stripped away immediately when an application is written. They will get to see the juicy pieces of our story. So we need to be credible. We need to believe first and foremost the story that we are telling, and we need to have data and examples and anecdotes and narratives and inspiring practices all put together in what we want to develop. So before starting, I think we need to have it clear for ourselves what we want to do and what is the ground reality. What is the reality that we are addressing, not what is most fitted, suited, or likely to get funded against the call for proposals.
Mm-hmm. Christina?
Definitely, share Diana's opinion. I would add that one of the key aspects is really reflecting how your project is offering a societal impact, okay? Because definitely Erasmus is emphasizing very much on the areas of training, networking, sharing best practices, and collaboration on a European level. But we really need to step back and reflect, what is the bigger idea of my project, and how am I really helping the target groups, the key stakeholders potentially involved in a project, and other stakeholders that might be involved or would be, let's say, interested in the final outputs of a project once it is approved and implemented. So going back to the root of all European programs, which is actually taxpayers' money, then definitely we need to make sure that we are offering a real impact. This is, for me, the highlight of preparing a very good proposal under Erasmus.
Thanks. Ulla?
Yes. It just gets me thinking, because it makes me think of the challenges I mentioned when we last spoke in the podcast. I think the impact, just to follow up on that, I just think that's a real problem. And for me, the issue is the limited life of a project, and the little time that is available to generate this impact. So I think the commitment and of the partners and their level of seriousness in actually wanting to have this impact or see this impact is a key factor for any kind of success, I think.
Sort of hitting a sour toe here, right? From the Commission side, because it's these Erasmus Plus projects are within an area where things can very easily evaporate when there's no more funding, right? It's not like a technology product where you can commercialize it through patents, so on and so forth. This is something that if you don't have dieharders, taking it forth after it, the project ends, then it's difficult. But we will get back to this when we talk about it. I'm not going to kill the discussion, but we will get back to it, obviously, when we move into. I'm going to try to keep some sort of chronology here on the way to do a proposal. I have never done an Erasmus Plus proposal, so I'm basing my knowledge, feedback, and questions on preparing Horizon and live proposals and whatever else I've been doing. But there are some generic elements, right? So if we start with the preparations and looking into how that is being done. So when you build something up from the beginning, it's the same, right? You have a project idea that either you have in your mind or someone else came to you with. But maybe, can you tell me? Let's start having a talk about how you start working with these things, because when you work with so many Erasmus proposals, and I know both, especially Daiana and Christina, you often do many at the same time, flow like this. So it must be quite kind of industrialized the approach to when you have the concept, how to shape the concept from a seed. So let's start with that seed. When you have a client or yourself with an idea, what happens then? Daiana, can you share with us what happens in your head and what happens with the creativity and how you work with that creativity to calibrate that to the context requirements?
Yeah, studying European public policy helps a lot, because you start, from this fairy tale, and you get the fantasy of the context, and you get we want to change and we want to support this kind of people and the target group, and we want to develop something. And then you say, okay, we have the rainbow narrative with all the money in the world, and this is what we would do. Now we go on to the very technical side, going back to the Lisbon Treaty. And by the way, if you haven't read Lisbon Treaty, you have already a minus in our profession. Going back from there, all the way into the lifelong learning programs, going all the way into what we have now. What is the level of narrative in the European politics? Who says what in the domain? Which DG has an opinion about it? Who butts heads with who in this topic? What are the major researches? But don't go on the rabbit hole of the research, because this is not fundamental development. This is Erasmus. This is more towards public policy. This is more towards the politics of from where the money comes. And then go and see what has been developed in the public policy of Europe. We have so many think tanks, so many researchers that do policy briefings, so much flow of information that it is highly relevant. And the more you read, the more you have the possibility to find that single approach that maybe not so many had. And if you find that one that no one had, it's even more spectacular. But it's a lot of reading, cross-referencing, doing the research, doing the brave narrative of putting policies back to back and see where the inconsistency is in the public discourse and how that affects the field that you want to develop. And now we are all suffering tremendously at the hands of the two DGs that govern mostly our worlds, which is DG EAC and DG Employment, because they have policies that go a bit on different routes, on education and learning, on labor market, on skills over competencies, and this whole narrative. And if you don't do the digging, it is going to be very complicated to have a flow in your storytelling.
Okay, so you dig into this background knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens next? You have an idea. You have a client. You have one of your stakeholders that you're writing for. And then you take the idea and calibrate it towards this back curtain from the commission.
Yep. And then take notes and put the text and put an argument. Like in the American movies where you have, they go into the court of law and they have the opening statement. Write your opening statement. Write your argument of your PhD thesis of your lifetime. Write the statement of your Nobel Prize award. A dramatic piece where you pour your head and your soul and all the knowledge, stating why this is a burning issue, why you really need the money to solve it, and how things could be done better or more efficient or whatever it is. And just actually write 2 pages of Word, and you will find that from those 2 pages, you could generate outputs, outcomes, you could generate the objectives or the aim, or just write 2 pages of a narrative piece.
Mm-hmm. Ulla, is this something you can recognize, the approach?
Yes, but I do it the other way around. It's a bit of a sort of, first of all, for me, is the idea, in the sense that I look at what are the needs at a more of a country level, at a national level. Then I go back to the public policy or the European policy documents and so on, to make the link, to understand fully the link between the national needs and what is the actual idea I have, to see how that fits in. And then I back it up from both sides as I develop the idea. So it's like a bit of a juggling exercise. But yeah, for me, the essential thing to guarantee this kind of impact that I'm looking for is to really have people on board who have who want to solve an issue already, before I go back to find the sort of European background, how this fits into the policy. So it's a bit different, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Christina.
So I think that I am mostly, aligned with Daiana's approach. However, I always go back to the priorities of the program of Erasmus+. So I make like a consistency alignment under the horizontal and the thematic priorities, just to check if it definitely aligns with those priorities and how the idea can be further elaborated to become more innovative and offering a new perspective. So I'm not going to share anything more, because definitely if you ask me, this question without Daiana answering, I would say the same: study and read a lot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So same process, just aligning everything with the priorities.
Do you, and you can, by the show of hands, and then we'll take it like this, do you work with your client or in any sort of workshop-ish when you have a group of partners on board, or do you sit with this here in the beginning when you start off yourself?
Should I?
Please. Yeah, Diane.
Usually always at CPIP, we work on a partnership principle. So not that we would not be able, but it hasn't come across to do a consultancy approach. We are always partners in projects. Okay. And being for so long in the industry, we know the expertise of the partners we are available in Europe, more or less. And if we start the writing process on a specific topic, we generally choose the topics where we have something to say on. where we actually know the reality. As we talked before in the last time we met in your podcast, I'm specialized in criminal correctional justice. So I've been to so many prisons in Europe and outside of the Europe that I don't need any partner to tell me how it works, because sometimes I know better how it works in their country than they are aware of. Then it's all about finding the correct context, the correct policies, and showcasing to the partners you want to join this idea because. It's not very often that we sit in a group and have detailed, elaborate discussion and negotiate things, because sometimes we don't actually have the time. That is pure and pragmatic
I
answer.
think most of the times that's the case, right?
Yeah, time is scarce.
Yes.
Christina and Ulla, are you doing group work when you do these things, or do you take input and then write it yourself?
As for myself, I don't do any group work. I think I've come to the conclusion that I think the proposal is more coherent and you can be more efficient if you do it yourself. However, I have discussions with all of the partners to understand what their needs are, what they can do exactly, what they are planning to do with the project in the long run, and how this fits into the work they are currently carrying out. Because, I mean, obviously, we need to have credible and very sort of convincing arguments in the actual application, and to have the answers from the partners and not like guessing or whatever is key. I mean, to make it good and also for it to have any kind of impact. And I'm also an evaluator, and when you're an evaluator, you kind of see it. You see it if the idea is genuine, if it's something the partners are dreaming about for years already, they are doing, and it just perfectly fits into what they do every day, or if it's something that is made up, and you see it. So yes, and trying when I write my own projects to keep that in mind, this aspect.
Christina?
First of all, I'd like to say that I'm really happy to hear what Ulla said from the evaluator point of view, that she can actually see the projects that were, developed through a team. And this is what we have been discussing a couple of weeks ago together, Nils, in the previous podcast. That definitely, it really makes a difference if you are co-developing a proposal. So from my point of view, what I usually do and what I am, aiming to achieve through my newly founded company, InnoEUspere, is to be partners in the projects that we are developing. So I don't either do any group, consultations. My basic rule is that I am involved and eager to develop a proposal that I find meaning, that the thematic area is aligned with the areas that we have an expertise on, the team here, and definitely a topic which I can be passionate about, so that I can represent in a very, very creative way in the proposal. So as a grant writer for so many years, I have my own template of presenting a concept note where I present the topic, the priorities, the challenge, and how this challenge aligns with all the policies and I don't know, maybe directives or other reports that are available out there. Share a bit on what we want to achieve, the actual deliverables of the project. And I would like to bring in another dimension into this discussion that for me is really important. I definitely, when I'm, inviting other partners to a project proposal, I always keep the initial approach as to the consortium. So if I have confirmed partners already, I mention them. If I am aiming to invite some partners, but still they haven't confirmed, I mention them and make a note that they will confirm, in due time. Why am I mentioning this? The team that is going to implement the project is actually the most vital aspect of the project itself, beyond what we want to achieve. Of course, I'm not, minimizing the role of the whole concept idea and what we want to develop. So having, let's say, this asset being viable on the concept node for me is, the plus, let's say, offering the added value of each project idea. I'm mentioning it because I see other approaches that other colleagues don't like to reveal, which will be the consortium of this project. So, I don't find any sense behind that. Mention the consortium. They are the people behind this project who will develop and implement the project if it becomes funded.
We are moving into the sort of, we're digging a little deeper now in terms of what happens when you step in, start and preparing a proposal, right? Because it's always an issue, I can tell you, from P&O, which is a huge company. Mm-hmm. Each consultant would have its own approach. They didn't have a standardized way that we were told to do these things. So in this phase, where you're building up, where you're attracting partners, where you are sending out concept notes, each would decide if it would be no one mentioned or everybody mentioned. I was of the last sort. I was always transparent and say, I need to share what's in there. I need to share what kind of organizations. But for the listener to understand this is a matter of when people have afterthoughts about this, is if then these organizations that you send to, that they see that an organization is there that they might not like, or they're in another proposal, or there are many thoughts that some people have when developing proposals to keep the names out, to keep the what do you say, they don't reveal too much, but for me, I don't know, Christina, you have shared what you think about this, but for me, it was vital to share the consortium. What's it? Who's there? Who are you going to work together with?
Exactly. Transparency for me is vital, it's key. I mean, you need to be transparent with the people that you're planning to work with. Soon after a project is approved, right? And not only that, as we mentioned also in the previous podcast, you are co-developing this project idea. You're not developing the project alone. It's not a solo effort here. So yes, I mean, for me, it's vital.
What about you, Daiana? What do you do?
I'm radicalized almost in the idea that our profession needs to hold the highest standard of ethics. Full stop. That is non-negotiable, that is non-debatable. It's not a thing to take lightly. I would always invite colleagues that to the best of my knowledge, of course, I can be sure share the same values, because that is first and foremost. We need to understand we work on public money. Mm-hmm. This is an investment that the European Union is making in its citizens. They're not our money, they're not for us. They are for supporting the needs of the end users. And when we talk about end users, I invite partners that, besides the fact that they are ethical and they are not red flagged, and I know that they don't do shady practices to the best of my knowledge. The second thing is I will always invite partners that have access to my target group. I'm going to develop a proposal on capacity building on correctional system. Don't tell me that you know where the prison is located. Thank you. I can find it on the Google map. Tell me if you have access tomorrow morning that the governor answers to your telephone. Don't sell donuts, because we are not at that level. I need the partners to have access to target group, direct access, and I need the partners to be able to tell me how many, which color, how many polka dots, how many bows on what side of the rainbow. Give me those details that don't exist on Google. I don't ask and I don't offer details about country, whatever, or generic. This is why we have search engines. I can find in 20 minutes details about everyone that I work with, all the countries. That's my job. Give me the details that are not on Google, are not on internet. Give me the statistics that are not on Eurostat. Help me beat them with their own weapons. Help me underline and pinpoint the real things that no system or platform or AI could ever put together in an application. I need to know the real stories of my end users, of my target group. And then, yes, we co-develop concept-wise. We co-produce as an idea, or more or less, are you behind this idea? Writing, no. Writing that is one hand or two hands in desperation, but that's a solo narrative, because I think we need to be credible and consistent in the words that we are using.
Ulla, do you share the consortium with when you attract other partners?
Yes. Well, if I don't, they will ask mostly anyway, and they will
That's
ask
the thing.
the other partners, and sometimes some of them already know each other anyway, and then there are some new ones who have never participated, and yes, no, I don't see any reason why not to share this. What I can say also is I think this approach of the concept note, I mean, I think we have this in all projects. I think we all have similar ways of doing this. Then there are good and bad concept notes. There are those that don't have enough information, and those that have a structure done properly. So, I mean, I have also my own template. I think we all have our templates.
Then the 10 pages.
Well, maybe not, but yes, the
Get them occasionally.
The background information, the objectives, the target groups, the basic structure, at least, of the projects and the partners, and yeah, maybe you get into more detail when you have confirmed the partnership. You also talk more in detail about the activities and so on in the concept note, especially once you have had the chance to talk to them in detail about developing the idea into a direction that suits everybody, obviously.
So let's thanks Ulla, for we have two things I want to cover before we move on to actual writing. So in preparation you have so there's the concept note, and then your preparation yourself, how you sit and prepare yourself, so to say, in your own organization, because each consultant has an approach, right? You have to have things sort of systemized in your own end before you start such a big work. First thing, the concept note, bridge into that. Ulla, thanks for that. How do you guys work? Because it was everybody could work with it. For me, I made a very structured one, tried at least, but not too long. But other consultants like to make them long. They might too. Some consultants, they took things out that they thought were sensitive, or right. But how do you work with these things, and how much do you share in them? Because this is what you need to build up the consortium, right? This is the partner build-up phase where you need to marketing promote, so to say, the possibility. So how do you do that? Christina, can you share how you work with it?
So I will share both from the internal preparation and with the preparation with the partners, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So internally, I keep like separate definitely folder for each project, and it's distinguished into the concept node, the budget, the Gantt chart. Each work package has also again its own folder, and everything is crafted individually by the person who is writing the developing in full the project proposal. Let's say that in this case it's myself. So and slowly, I am informing as I progress, the files, and I reach a final stage before before the submission deadline. So same information is shared again with a colleague of mine internally. So if I have a person in my team, then same approach. Now, once, let's say, we have confirmed the partnership for a project idea, then I usually create a engine drive folder where I invite the partners. I usually give the same access and editing rights to the partners. It's very clear from the beginning who is developing the proposal in full and is leading this entire process. We distinguish the roles, who is leading which work package, who will be the dissemination leader, who will be the quality assurance leader, etc. If I need input, then we have everything in writing, communicated clearly to all partners with the set deadlines. So everyone, has undisrupted access to the project being developed. This is more or less the approach that I am following to, organize the work in a transparent and open manner with the team.
Yeah, thanks. Daiana?
So I have first level, which is the initial thing, 2 pages explaining the aim and objectives and more or less activities, target group, and this is where we want to go with the consortium. Mm-hmm. And then internally, so with everything, implementation, writing, with everything, we work on teamwork. We have purchased the license for the platform. So I keep their track, like check boxes. Did I send the description? Did the partners reply? Did I ask for partner identification form where they write their details? Did they send me answer to the questions that I asked? So I keep a track record of where I am in the process in case something happens. My manager could pick up. Then if the partnership is set, and I'm double checking that there are no oopsies, everyone has PIC, OID, everyone is in the system, not to have panic attacks 10 minutes before the deadline closes and things like that. Then if I have more partners in one country, I have the one that is my closest, and that partner is responsible for coordinating with the other partners from the same country. If I have multi-partnerships in different countries, then I try to delegate a bit, not to go crazy. Then in the second line, I have a detailed Excel that helps the partners understand word per word, activity, expectation, money, time, number of persons. Mm-hmm. And without this, my manager refuses to create my budgets. So I have to do it. And then once the partner sees exactly numerically what does it involve, sometimes it is the moment to signpost. I will have a problem. I cannot engage 100 people in a training. Please, can you reduce? Because this is not realistic for me. Or I can do on other target group, which is similar, but not exactly the same. Can we negotiate a bit the angle of approach or things like that? And then we are done. You don't ask me questions. You don't bug me because I don't bug you. Trust that I'm a good narrator and I understand it and I get it, and this is my daily job. So provide me with what is needed and trust the process, because I do the same with my bug them with too many questions. I trust the process. It is as it is, and to have the caveat that at the first project meeting, once we are done with the contracting, we will have a revamping, let's say, reinterpretation of the application form according with the reality once the things are contracted. So that's from my side.
Yeah, that's good, because we are covering, but so it's difficult to keep things aside. So it's preparation, but it's good. It's fine. Ulla, anything on your preparation, working with the group?
Already, I mean, I don't have, because you mentioned it earlier, I don't have this industrialized approach because I write maybe 1 or 2 on my own for during the year. And then I collaborate with others, share the work on writing other proposals, where we split the work in writing and budget, and the partner takes care of one aspect and I take care of another. So I'm not on my own, and also the partnership is kind of put together jointly. Through our contacts, we discuss what works best for the topic that we're working on. So it's a different kind of, a bit more of a small scale approach. I don't. I very much for myself insist on less is more, in terms of I want to have very good quality and not quantity. So I really focus on that. The way we organize it is usually we have something that we call an activity guide. Once the idea is validated by the partners, they receive an activity guide that details all the different details of all the work packages, with an indication of who we suggest being in charge of which aspect, and also the indicators for each of these activities, so that they have an idea of how many, you mentioned it, Daiana, 100 or 50, or how many participants are expected. And this activity guide is shared with everybody for feedback. And then, of course, this is discussed and reviewed. And once we have the final agreement for everybody about everything, that's when the writing process starts for me.
Now, you all three of you individually sort of touched upon the tool, the tools that we create when we do these things, which are very, very important when you do this a lot. So all kinds of templates, internal template, background templates you send out to the group, concept note templates. You mentioned the tool now also. My best guess is that Daiana and Christina, you have a whole list. You have a whole very, very structured group of tools of different formats that you use, both in before you start to write and when you do write. Is that correctly assumed, Christina?
Yes, definitely, of course. And Daiana mentioned this Excel file. If you see mine, it's kind of a funny story, because there's another tab checking things. But yes, I mean, without it, if you're investing your time in grant writing, Niels, and you know that from yourself, even that you weren't active with Erasmus, but you wrote a lot of proposals yourself. So you know how it is. So you really need to be consistent, very, very organized. I think it's one of the most essential, let's say, skills for our, let's say, field profession, I would say. So if you don't really utilize these tools, then you're kind of lost, right?
Daiana?
Yes, structured, not as structured as my German manager would like me to be, but I'm doing my best. I've been too many times on those panic moments where I wake up at 3 a.m. wondering, did that person reply or not? Or have I forgot to send this document to be signed? And in order to avoid as much as possible those things, because a lot of things we do in our industry are one-man show. If I didn't send it, it's full stop. It doesn't exist. There are no backups to this. So yes, you need to have a back traceable line of steps, because if you manage to get the grant, you need to know exactly what I meant where I put this. Why is there this word and not the other? And these kind of things. Why did this partner has a different set of indicators than everyone else? Because you forget things. Unfortunately, we work on a time lag. We apply in March, and we maybe start to work in November.
Yeah.
And then you need to have all put in some sort of archive to backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I mentioned that with the partners, I usually make a shared G Drive folder where we add everything in a very organized manner. Everyone has access. So yes, if we are funded, we have a very, very nice reference point to start from. Yes.
How much do you control that? Because I remember, I know Erasmus Plus is not the same. But you would also have big consortia with us. But I've been working with consortia with 30, 35, 40 partners, right? And at some stage, there's no, in the beginning we would regulate it access to what section they would have access to, and especially in the last 2 weeks you would have very hard measures of who could access what and do whatever they want to do. How do you work with these things, with regulating access, and especially if you work with 8 Erasmus proposals in parallel? I don't know, Daiana, 4 or 5.
Yeah, my biggest number of partners in a funded Erasmus is 15. So that is as high as I go. After that,
it's more manageable.
I go crazy, and no, that's
thanks.
too much. No. But at the writing phase, it's on a need to know basis. You want to know something, send an email and ask me. I'm not sharing because there are a lot of things to discuss here that goes to the copyright, that goes to the intellectual property, that goes to the ethical practices in our profession. And we all know that if you are a very good writer, all you need is a little too detailed project presentation, and you don't need anything else. Your project gets going. So if there are things that my partners want to know, excellent. I'm in the proposal writing moments, I'm 24 hours on call. Mm-hmm. Call me, write me, text me. I will discuss with you everything, but don't ask me to make things too public, because I was beaten a couple of times, and it's very, very hurtful, and I'm not going that route again.
Ulla, any comments on this?
I agree. You know, I fully agree with what Daiana said. There is this sort of a fine line between there has to be a trust with the partners. That's essential, and that's why we tend to go back to partners we have worked with, and where it has worked well, and where we know we can actually share information because it's fine, and that is something that is a relief also, that you don't have to hide things from people because you're worried that something will happen with it. And it's that's a good partnership that you want to go back to, and then you stay with some partners. The problem from an evaluator's point of view is when you start seeing too much of this, too much of the same people working on very similar topics year after year, and that evaluators see this, and the agency sees it also and points it out to the evaluators before the evaluation starts. So there are some tricky things here about this as well.
Normally when I develop something, at least, and what the colleagues that I've seen, then you have a certain flow. You have work package group that is divided, and you have work package group leaders, and they take lead on discussions in those, and that can be quite complex sometimes, depending on the number of work packages. But as I can understand, work packages are normally a little lower numbers in Erasmus proposals than they would be in Horizon proposals sometimes. But correct me if I'm wrong. But you would still work. There would still be the same issue here, right? If you look at the work that needs to be done, and you need to creatively, in the subgroup, so to say, the activities they would do, they need to discuss them and find out how do we handle this activity, what's the flow, and what is the connection between us and the other work package group, and so on and so forth. How do you work with these things? Daiana?
These things get worked, like you mentioned, in the implementation phase. In the application phase, I ask the partners that I trust most or have the CV that is relevant for a particular work package, and I've refused to have more than 6 work packages because I know myself I will get bored in writing, and the last work package has the fewest words and is the most expedite. So no, I have a limit to my patience, but I just ask partners which are most relevant for that particular topic if they feel comfortable in leading the work package, and of course they get allocated a bit more hours in the budget, and they need to be aware. I request from all my work package leaders to set up an implementation strategy for that particular work project. That's non-negotiable. I need implementation strategy, and I need a calendar, and I need instruments with which you monitor the partners within the work package, because this is why I will allocate more hours and more budget for you. Trust me that I'm writing the work package correctly for your needs, and that's all. I'm not into this debating phase because I don't have that much time.
Okay, because then I need to understand how did you all prepare Horizon proposals? Ulla, I know you did, Christina also. Did you prepare Horizon proposals? Yeah.
Out of a sheer mistake, and it was the 3rd on the list, but only 2 got funded, so it was like a bust for me.
Christina, you know what I'm talking about here, right? Or you can relate to the way of working, because it's often Horizon, if it's technology at least, or innovation processes, there are some complex things that are broken down into quite substantial work packages. Is it not relevant in relation to Erasmus to talk about this? Is that how do?
Yeah. So yes, I am, as I said, I'm coming from a background of writing grant applications for innovative SMEs. So I started from the SME Instrument Program, which then turned to ERC Accelerator under Horizon. So I definitely align to what you are saying, right? In any case, the approach under Erasmus is slightly, let's say, different. First of all, for the cooperation partnership projects, I mean, the projects which are, as we said, between 12 to 36 months maximum, and we see relatively small partnerships of around 6, maximum 7 partners from the EU. Then my approach as a grant writer is the following. I develop the Gantt chart and I conceptualize exactly the work plan, the methodology. So from work package 1 to work package 5, this is the maximum number of work packages that we are allowed to present with the new program guide of Erasmus in the new programming period. So for each work package, I create my tasks. I design and delegate the work package leader to each work package based on my experience and to the best of my knowledge that this partner will be able to deliver and that they are very, very, relevant to the work package developed. And what I do usually is individually contact each work package leader, ask them to approve the tasks that they're going to lead, and ask for their input. If there is something that I cannot, let's say, develop sufficiently in the proposal, let's say that the work package is really technical and I need their insights and know-how, then I will delegate the writing to them. But mostly, let's say, writing, developing a proposal for cooperation partnerships, I try to, gather input, but develop the whole thing, let's say, individually. Okay. Now, for the Alliances for Innovation call, which is, a centralized action, we are talking about the formation of partnership of around, let's say, 13 to 15 partners maximum. Then you are, discussing, let's say, more innovative aspects, and you are actually required to present more technical details. Then yes, if there is a partner who is really, has to present the real value and technical information, they can have their work package, they will develop it, and I then will oversee and align the consistency of their work to the overall proposal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. So that it's so you do work like this, but not always.
Yes, for the smaller projects, I explained. For the centralized actions, yes, as I said, if there is a really meaningful input from the partner, I will delegate the work to them. Of course, if they are able to write it, right? I mean, then you will still need to confirm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Ulla, do you have any comments to this?
Yes, I was going to say the same, because there is a big difference. I mean, now we have small scale projects, we have the cooperation partnerships, and when you move to the alliance, it's the method gets slightly more sophisticated, because you need more input from the partners. You need more detailed information, and the page number for the alliances has been reduced also, so you have to explain more in fewer pages, and you don't have necessarily the character limit that you have in the applications online for the cooperation partnerships, because there you know exactly how much you can write for each question. But for the alliances, you have to decide yourself, because it's the page number that counts, the maximum page number. And so there is a juggling also in terms of how you allocate, where you put the emphasis in the content also, and how the partners contribute to this. Definitely alliances I have written, the partners have are more important. You need to involve them and consult them much more closely.
I think that's clear. Do you have general consortium meetings through the proposal phase? Do you do that? Do you gather the full group? Daiana, you're
No.
shaking your head. No. Christina?
For Alliances for Innovation call, I mean, if we, how to say, if the topic is really special for us, then, and we gather a really nice consortium, valuable, let's say, partnership, then we usually might have one general, let's say, opening meeting when starting to develop the application, discuss some important issues, share some insights on the national needs, on the indicators that we're aiming to develop, or have them share their ideas on how to make the project idea more innovative. So for the alliances, yes. For the cooperation partnerships call, no.
Okay, interesting, because I'm used to that. That was sort of something we always did, in the Horizon context. No, interesting. I think we more or less, because you have mentioned these things. So we're talking about work package groups, talking about consortium, talking about flow of work. Is there anything on the shaping of the proposal else you want to mention in the collaboration with the partners? Is there anything else, exchange of information where you have structured things in a specific way, or before you put pen to paper?
From my side, I think it's relevant, those, as I said, those information that I cannot get from the internet. And I ask my partner, describe your organization, not in the standard format. I know who you are. I don't need to be convinced. Tell me your input, your experience, your reach of the target group, your possibilities of picking up a practice, your possibility of doing a number of things that are relevant and I have no idea about them. Tell me your past projects that I cannot find on Erasmus database, because those are the interesting ones that make specific and relevant explanation of why we are in a partnership. I think that one is essential. And the list of your local partners. Who do you work with? Not necessarily that I'm going to bring them as budgeted partners in the overall proposal, but I need to know what is your local network. How many schools do you work with? How many teachers? Do you have like a social thing? Or tell me the juicy little things that make you relevant.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to break in here because this is important for the people who not necessarily have done this so much. So, in the Erasmus proposals, because now you said it in between the lines several times, all of you. So you have in the typical Erasmus proposal, as I can deduct, you have sort of you have the cases with a group of partners in each of those cases. Is that correct? A batch in each corner. Is that correctly understood?
Not necessarily. So I have one partner per country. Let's say I'm writing a project for schools and I want to develop a teacher training material. Mm-hmm. I'm inviting partners. Not all my partners are schools. Mm-hmm. Maybe a partner is an NGO. Mm-hmm. Okay, that doesn't make you ineligible, or I'm not going to dismiss you upfront, because I also need partners that can technically manage projects and not run them in the ground financially. So it's not only about the heart must be happy. I also need you to be a technical partner. But, okay, you're an NGO. Please tell me, how many schools do you work with in your region? Do you have any cooperation agreement with them? Do you cooperate with your school inspectorate, with your school council? Do you have any parents that you usually reach with? Do you have a portfolio to prove this? Or give me something that I can motivate.
I understand. I think for the sake of timing, we should move on to the actual writing. So pen to paper, because we will need to run through the different sections of what will meet people when they sit down and start to write these things, right? We already talked about delegating, writing, how much do you prefer to do yourself? Maybe we just attack the sections. Yeah. So what sections do you have in? And here I will be fading out of the first part of this double episode on Erasmus Plus proposal preparation. Second part of this double episode will be released next Monday. Here, Daiana, Christina, and Ulla will continue to be sharing their experience on how to best develop an Erasmus Plus proposal. There, we move into the actual writing phase, how to attack the different sections plus the budget. And we will also shortly touch on the actual submission itself. You can look forward to that. And until then, you can check out my website, thegrant.eu, where you will find my full back catalogue of episodes, including the authoritative The Grant Introduction to the Erasmus Plus program. That is episode number 52 and 53. See you next week for second half.